Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. I have another family favorite recipe, and it is called sour cream buns, Tejfölös Zsemle. So what you will need is 6 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon of salt, 5 whole eggs, 4.5 tablespoons of margarine, 3 tablespoons of shortening, 500-gram container of sour cream, and 3 tablespoons of traditional active dry yeast, 1 tablespoon of sugar, a half a cup of milk, and a half a cup of lukewarm water. So what I did was, in a large mixing bowl, I added and mixed the flour and salt together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a quarter cup of sour cream to the flour. So I've already pre-measured this. Into the flour. So you're going to be putting all the ingredients in there before you actually do the kneading of the dough. So everything goes into the flour first. So that is the sour cream. And then next you would add the 3 whole eggs to the flour. So I've used 3 out of the 5 of the eggs for the whole eggs for the flour. Then what I do is separate the 2 remaining eggs into separate bowls, and I briskly beat the 2 egg whites with a fork until they became frothy. And then I added I'm going to add the beaten egg whites into the flour, so I'm going to do that just now. So all of these following ingredients go into the flour mixture. And then what I did was I mixed 1 tablespoon of sugar with a cup of lukewarm water, and then I added the yeast to it and stirred it together. And then I let the yeast rise. It took about 8 minutes to rise. And then I'm going to pour the risen yeast into the flour. So I've got that here ready in a bowl. So that's the risen yeast. I'm going to put that into flour. So all of these ingredients go in first before you actually start doing the kneading process. And then what I do is I add the margarine and shortening and the margarine and shortening. So I've got 4 tablespoons of margarine. And I've got a quarter in my recipe. I mentioned a quarter, 4.5 tablespoons of margarine. So I'm going to use a half a teaspoon of that to grease my baking sheets. And then I've got the vegetable shortening. I've got 3 tablespoons of that, and I've had that all pre-measured beforehand. So it's good idea to have everything pre-measured, and you just have to kind of put everything together into that. Okay, and then what I do is then once I've added all these ingredients, then I've warmed up some milk in a saucepan, so it's a warm temperature. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to gradually add, I've also got my lukewarm water ready. I'm going to gradually add it into my into this dough mixture, and I'm going to knead it together. Okay, so what I do is I start off with a little bit of milk, and then a little bit of so a little bit at a time, and then I start kneading the dough. So this is where you would start putting your hands into the flour mixture, and then you combine your ingredients. So you gently knead it together. And once it's kneaded together, then what I'll do is I'll come back and show you what the dough mounds look like. And what you do is you'll have to let the dough mounds rise. and then the dough actually rise, and then you divide them up into 2 dough mounds, and then that's when you start doing your buns. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you what to do next. Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. I put together a dough mixture for the sour cream buns, Tejfölös Zsemle, and so I've waited for about an hour. I've covered the kneaded dough with some tea towels, and I've put it into a warm place. And so what I'd like to do is show you what this the dough looks like. So it's risen to twice its original size, so it should look like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make I'm going to take this and I'm going to take this apart like that, and I'm going to take one piece here. I'm just going to set this aside, and I'm going to put some flour. Make sure that you've got a floured surface, and then you want to just flatten it down like this. You don't want to be using a rolling pin. And flatten it to about the thickness of your thumb. So I'm just going to make sure that's evenly flattened like this with your hand. And then you're going to take your sort of a glass, about a 6-ounce glass or mug, and dip it into some flour, and then you're going to start cutting out your buns, and then you're going to put them onto a cookie sheet. So I'm just going to do that, or a baking sheet, and then you're going to let them rise again. It should take about probably about another half an hour, and I'm just going to show you what this looks like on a baking sheet. So you keep doing that. Just going to dip it into some more flour. I'm just going to cut out shapes like that, and then I'm just going to put the dough together again and flatten it out. And I'm going to keep continuing to do that. I'm just going to set this aside here, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing. So I'm going to make, I've got a really large baking sheet here, and I'm going to make sure that there's space between the buns, because they're going to grow, they're going to bake quite large. So I'm going to make sure that there's enough space there so that they don't bake together. So I'm going to continue doing that, and then I'm going to let the buns rise. They're going to rise a little bit about this high, and then I'm going to put that egg yolk and sour cream mixture, and I'm going to brush it on with a basting brush on top of the buns, and I'm going to put them in the oven. So I'll be back to show you what they look like ready to go in the oven, and then I'm just going to put the egg yolk sour cream mixture on top of that. Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. I prepared and placed all the buns on the baking sheets, and I made sure that I greased the bottom of the baking sheets before I placed all the buns on them. So and then I left the buns to rise for an additional about 40 minutes. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a basting brush to brush the egg yolk and sour cream mixture on the top of each of the buns before placing them into the oven. I've also preheated the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and I will bake the buns for about 15 minutes, and then I'll lower the temperature to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and bake them for an additional 30 minutes. So what I do, and this is what the buns look like after they've been left on the baking sheet for about 40 minutes. And now I'm going to, with a brush, I'm going to brush the egg and sour cream mixture onto the top of the buns. Now this will give it sort of like a golden color, golden brown color to it, and it make it look shiny also. It looks really, really nice. So this I've been able to make about 24 buns, so about 2 dozen buns this should make. I had a little bit of extra, about 2 extra, so I put it on sort of like a pie, sort of a pie kind of a plate, and I'm just going to bake those additional 2 in the oven after. Yeah, so I had about 2 extra, and I didn't want to overcrowd the baking sheet, because you don't want them to be, you want too many of them on there at once. So I'm just going to do that with all of the buns, and then I'm going to put them in the oven, and it takes about say about 45 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes. So you have to kind of check and see how they're baking in the oven. So this is a great recipe. My mother would make this to go along with a meat dish, or just on its own. It's great. It's like you can put butter on it or margarine, and put your favorite jam on there. So it's very filling. So it can also be served during a dinner. You can have it in a basket and you can serve it, accompanying it, you know, a dinner, a whole meal. So I'm just going to brush that on there, make sure that all of them have it on there. And very popular dish with my family, my grandmother and my mother. They'd make this during gatherings, family gatherings. Okay, so I'm going to put those into the oven, and I'm going to bake them, and then I'm going to come back and show you what this great recipe looks like coming fresh out of the oven. Welcome back again to Rinka's Kitchen. I had in the oven a recipe that I made, and it's called sour cream buns, Tejfölös Zsemle. And so I've had the buns in the oven for approximately, in total, about 40 minutes. So it takes about 40 to 45 minutes to bake, so you need to keep checking it. So and what I did before I put the buns into the oven, after I cut them out into circular shapes, I let the buns rise for about 40 minutes, and then I put egg yolk sour cream mixture on the top with a basting brush. So I brushed it so that it made it look nice and golden brown. So I'm going to show you what this great recipe looks like coming fresh out of the oven. So this is what the buns look like, and so as you can see that it's sort of a golden brown on the top, and it's a bit crusty on the top, and then it's moist in the inside, so it's like a crusty bun kind of. And it can be served with alongside as dinner rolls, or also can be made into sort of sandwiches. So you can cut them in half, and my mother used to put salami between the buns, and a little bit of margarine or butter, and then she'd pack them into a cooler, a sort of a picnic cooler, and we'd have those for when we went out picnicking, you know, just for a short trip down into the mountains, and we'd take a drive through there and stop off at a picnic site, and she'd have fresh tomatoes and paprika, like yellow paprika, bell paprika, and she'd cut up red ones and yellow, and we'd have sort of sandwiches made from the sour cream buns. So there's different ways that you can eat these. So what I'd like to do is show you what the inside looks like of the bun. And I just put some butter on it, and you can, as I said, you can put meats in there, ham or salami, and make it sort of a sandwich. And then it looks like that, or your favorite jam. So if you have any questions or comments regarding this recipe, please feel free to contact me at irene@irinkaskitchen.com or irinkaskitchen.com. I hope that you enjoy serving this to your family and friends. Bon appetit, jó étvágyat!